Hello ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's Alexander Hilly123 here, and it's time for part 2 of my rundown of my top 50 albums of the 1990s. We are now at number 45, and I'll be detailing that 44, 43, 42 and 41 in this video. This list was not easy to do whatsoever, but I had to make a decision one way or another in the end, and I did so. And we're going back to 1994 with this album, March 1994 to be exact. It is the second grunge band. I just like to call them hard rock, to be honest with you. Let's do that. Yes, hard rock band. It is Superunknown by Soundgarden, and this is number 45 in my list, I do believe. Let me just check. I keep forgetting. My maths ain't great, so I keep having to remember where. But yes, this was released in March 1994. The Bad Animals studio, Seattle, Washington, where so much great music was made in the 1990s. And this is the fourth album by Soundgarden. And this is the album, I mean, they were already making waves in a lot of hard rock kind of music community. With Ultra Mega OK, Louder Than Love had a few popular tracks, but it was Bad Motorfinger that really, propelled them to the mainstream with Rusty Cage. It's a great song. When I was younger, I used to think that that was an actual cover. I remember, obviously, I think that song was on GTA San Andreas, and I mean, goodness gracious, that was 2004, that great game. One of my top 10 games of all time, obviously. My favourite Grand Theft Auto game, and honestly, I mean, the music on that game is just unbelievable. So much great music that really shaped my tastes. And Rusty Cage, I remember thinking for some reason it was a Johnny Cage cover. Johnny Cage? Yeah, that would have been funny, wouldn't it? Johnny Cage. Johnny Cash, I should say. Although I would like to see Johnny Cage on the mic. Been playing a little bit of Mortal Kombat 9 lately, and it just shows you that my brain is fuzzy. Anyway, this is a very long album, 70 minutes in length. No Johnny Cage on it, no Johnny Cash either. There are actually a few missteps here, in my opinion, like Suicide, Hearth. I'm not a huge fan of, but there are a lot of fantastic tracks in the middle and the beginning of the album. Let Me Drown, My Wave, Fell on Black Days, Mailman, Superunknown, Head Down. A few eerie, slower tracks there, a few really grungy, kind of Black Sabbath-esque riffs in some of these songs, especially on Mailman, which is so heavy, it's unreal. A few normal rock songs like Limo Wreck, The Day I Tried to Live. Spoonman is so groovy. You've got great bass on this album, chugging guitar. I think the drumming on this album is done by Pearl Jam's drummer. Is it Cameron? Matt Cameron? I think he's intertwined between both bands down the years. But yeah, Soundgarden, not my favourite band of all those, all that movement in the early mid-90s, but this is a great album. I just about decided to put this in ahead of Bad Motorfinger because the production's a little bit cleaner on this album, a little bit more diversity, yet they've still got that true hard rock sound. Fantastic album, number 45, Superunknown by Soundgarden. Now we're on to 44, 1997, 30th of June 1997, Big Beat, Electronica, so Wikipedia tells me. Alternative rock, alternative dance, synth punk, rave and industrial rock. You might know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Prodigy with The Fat of the Land. For me, without doubt, the best Prodigy album. An awesome album cover of a crab, and because of obviously a crab's hands, it's got these devil horns going on. I love my music, but I only just realised and found out, I couldn't believe this, that Liam Howlett is kind of the guy behind the desk that you never see, the genius that you never see. I always thought that Liam Howlett was the one in the, not Spank My Bitch Up, but what is it, Firestarter video. But that is Keith Flint, and I never knew that. I thought Keith Flint was the genius behind the deck, behind the mic, I don't know what you got, not mic, but you know what I mean, the true genius who got everything moving. But no, Keith Flint is the vocalist. I always thought he was Liam Howlett, and I couldn't believe that, because I do really like the Prodigy. But yes, this is their best album in my opinion. 56 minutes in length. You've got the incredible Climatize, which has actually been used in a lot of nature documentaries on the BBC. It's a really cracking jungle-esque track, and it builds up really well. Minefields, which is absolutely awesome. Some guy, the writer of that, called Maxim Reality. I think there's also a black fella who is with a Prodigy as well. I don't know if that is Maxim Reality. Let me just see here. Yeah, it is. He's got good vocals, and he says headshot during the song, or head rush. I can't remember. It's a while since I listened to this album. Could actually do a listen to it right now. But Breathe, smack my bitch up. But my 3 favourite tracks on the album, 3, 4 and 5. Oh man, what a trio of amazing hard-hitting music. Diesel Power with Kool Keith on the vocals, Funky Shit, and my personal favourite, which I will most certainly be putting down in the drop-down menu, Serial Thriller. That is probably the most aggressive song on the album, and I love the Prodigy's aggressive sound. They haven't made too many missteps in their careers. I thought Invaders Must Die was a pretty solid album. I can't remember what it was called, the one before that. I think it was Never Out, Always Outnumbered, Never Outgunned, or I might have gotten that the wrong way around, but that was probably the worst album they've ever done. But yeah, Fat of the Land is a cracking album. Serial Thriller, my favourite song from it. And they've also got an absolutely brilliant cover of the L7 song, Fuel My Fire. I actually prefer it. It's amazing. I don't think I picked a song for Superunknown by Soundgarden, so I am going to pick Mailman. I didn't even discuss 4th of July. God, that song is eerie. Love it. But yeah, so we're on to number 43 now. 43rd favourite album of the 1990s. Speaking of eerie, weird and downright crazy, it's Maynard James Keenan, ladies and gentlemen. If Lateralus was released in 1999, it was actually released in 2001, it would probably be in my top 10. But Ænima is in at number 43. I don't love this album, as a lot of Tool fans do. I love Tool, but my favourite 2 Tool albums are Lateralus and 10,000 Days. Tool now, it's nearly 10 years since they released a record. It's getting agonising, you know, because Maynard James Keenan is now in his early 50s. Pardon me, he's not getting any younger, and I'm really, really hoping they release some new material soon. Supposedly, it's got something to do with a long-standing lawsuit with someone, or some company, or some guy. I really don't know what the story is, but they kind of cryptically released that statement on the Facebook, and it is so cryptic with Tool, and this album is hella cryptic as well. Very cryptic. 77 minutes in length. This album received mixed reviews when it came out, but it's not a surprise really, because it isn't exactly easy to get into. Tool, a progressive rock, progressive metal band. I think they owe a hell of a lot to the incredible King Crimson for a lot of the material and the melodies that they use. But you've got, who is the drummer again? Danny Curry on drums, without doubt one of the best drummers of all time. The guy is just quite simply incredible, especially on songs like Triad and The Patient and Schism off Lateralus. Lateralus is just a astounding album. But I think this album, some of the interludes don't work. There are a few weaker tracks here and there. I don't consider it an all full blown out masterpiece like a lot of people do, but it's still a fantastic progressive rock album. Eulogy, Stinkfist, H, which is possibly my favourite song on the album. Hooker with a Penis, more straightforward hard rock song on here, I'd say. And then the incredible Third Eye, with sound bites and samples from Bill Hicks doing his comedy routine in there at the start. Absolutely fantastic, and this kind of tribal force that Tool started with on this album have had since this album with Lateralus and 10,000 Days. The material before this album was a little bit more full on. What was the album before this? Undertow. Yeah, Undertow is a little bit more full on, not as progressive. I do love that sound from Tool. I wish they could have made a few more albums of it. But nevertheless, this is a strong progressive rock album. Not my favourite from the band, but still very good indeed. Right, we're up to number 42 now, ladies and gentlemen. This guy was most certainly ready to release amazing music, and he was also ready to die. It's the Notorious B.I.G, ladies and gentlemen. And it's getting notoriously dark in this room. Bit of a delayed reaction there. Oh, God, my eyes are killing me now. But yes, it is. Oh! In my last video, September 13th, 1993, in Utero, Nirvana. That was my 50th album on the list. Now we're up to number 42. And a year to the day after that album, September 13th, 1994, Kurt Cobain had gone by this time. Incredible, isn't it? When you think about it. In that year, gone like that. An amazing, short-lived career. And here's this man a year later releasing his magnum opus. And within 3 years, he was to be gone as well. You know, with some of these albums, I'm listing off when I actually found them, whatnot. I've only been into this album and known properly beyond the singles, which are awesome. You know, like Hypnotize, which is just so good. The bass in that track is just out of this world. But yeah, I've only been listening to this album and Notorious B.I.G for about 12 to 18 months or so. I've still not fully gotten to grips with his second album, which I believe was Life After Death, which was released either just before or just after he died. It's a double album, kind of like Tupac's All Eyes on Me, and it's a little bit inconsistent, but there's still a lot of quality on there. This guy just came in with lyrics and a flow which was just very forceful and aggressive. I think he was a little bit less diverse than Tupac. I think it's seen as the in and cool thing to say that this guy was better than Tupac. You will have to see whether Mr. Tupac Shakur will be in this list later on, or indeed this man be in this list. MF Doom, motherfucking metal fingers. I think you know he'll be in this list now, but yeah. Very aggressive, and he certainly lived up to his gangster front, if you will. I'm not going to talk about the beef, ladies and gentlemen, between him and Tupac, but I'm just going to talk about the music. Incredibly long album, I think, here for a rap album. 70 minutes. You don't get many 70-minute albums. I think Kendrick Lamar, he's released a few long albums. Danny Brown I love as well in terms of modern rap. I think Danny Brown's absolutely fantastic. I like his more melancholic side. I've been trying to get into a little bit more modern rap, but I just love a hell of a lot of rap from the early 90s. Not all gangster, as you will see later on in this list, ladies and gentlemen. But you've got... he does show his softer side on this album, and his side of himself where he did regret some of the decisions and the things that he'd done in his life. You see that on Suicidal Thoughts, the last track here, where it's kind of a track where he hypothetically... kills himself, just shoots himself while he's talking on the phone to a friend. You could tell he was a man who was just obsessed with death, and it found him eventually. Machine Gun Funk, that is certainly funky. Ready to Die is great. My favourite song on this album, though, is probably Gimme the Loot. That is so awesome. It just is really cool. I can't say anything else. Juicy, everyone knows about. Me and My Bitch is good as well. Everyday Struggle is a lovely song. That shows his softer side as well. But yeah, Ready to Die by Notorious B.I.G. My 42nd favourite album of the 1990s. And I'd be interested to know how old he was when he released this. It can't have been very old. Bloody hell. He died 24. So he was 21 when he made this album. I think that is astounding, really, to make an album that good at that age. Obviously, a lot of help in terms of the production and a lot of guest appearances if you check the Wikipedia page on that album. But nevertheless, he was still on the mic. He was still doing the singing on it, and it was fantastic. One of the best albums, rap albums of all time. But we're finishing this video now, going back to 1992. 420, Blaze It. for this band, ladies and gentlemen. It is stoner rock, it is stoner metal, it is Kyuss and Blues for the Red Sun. This is basically, if you don't know, the band that Josh Homme, or Homme, I still don't know how to pronounce his last name, was in before forming Queens of the Stone Age, but he wasn't the main lead singer on this album. Those duties were, what's his name, John Garcia, who is quite simply one of my favourite vocalists of all time. A really strong accent, singing voice. Where's he from? This guy, Arizona. Yeah, I don't think he's exactly down south in America, but just listen to the guy's vocals and you know what I'm talking about. And they begin on the first track, which is called Fum. Green Machine, one of the most popular tracks. And you can see that it's a real kind of band influence on this album. It's not just Garcia calling the shots. You've got lyrics from Josh Homme, Brant Bjork, and also Nick Olivieri. I think I'm pronouncing that stupidly, but I always got Oliveira instead, and I'm never quite sure which it is. But basically, he's got a lot of facial hair, and he is utterly insane, ladies and gentlemen. But he also does lead vocals on the track Mondo Generator. I think he also created a band with that name after leaving Kyuss, because he's caused a lot of trouble at times, Nick Olivieri. And you got Freedom Run, which is a really long... There's a few of these tracks that are like over 5-6 minutes. Really spacious, really timed well, really fast and aggressive, and then they'll slow it down. And, you know, just close your eyes and listen to it, and you'll certainly get thoughts of the desert. That is what Kyuss music is all about. And that's when I, said 420, blaze it, all the marijuana references there. It truly is a great album to both rock out to and relax to. There's quieter moments, there's heavier moments, but everything Kyuss did, in my opinion, was fantastic. They're an incredible band, and I've got to admit, at times, looking back on this list, I'm thinking, 41, really? That high up or low down on the list? They could have easily been in my top 30, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Albums 45, 44, 43, 42, 41. Please join me in the next video where I will be detailing albums 40 to 36. So I will see you guys then.